think the mayor asked for that.
Exactly.
So
To
that's where
accomplish something totally different.
That's where your three come from.
But if we can't hardly discriminate against one.
Who has already cleaned up the property.
Yeah. And that's the other one, you know, it's.
We're not if we vote for it.
Yeah, that's right, you're not if you vote for it, but there's still wiggle room for folks that do not want, lots on, or RVs on privately owned lots that, are as is. They've already been cleaned up, there's just no one occupied, on that lot.
I'll make a motion that we allow variance to the ordinance, for all three of them, following the guidelines set forth by the mayor and council, and written in this memo.
I'll second that.
Excuse me, the last time we had a meeting, you let people ask. I just want to ask if you're going to use any language to refer to the FEMA restriction.
Well, yes, by all means, that's at the top of my list,
Okay.
yes.
In here.
Floodway, floodplain, town ordinances, emergency plan, all of those are still additions to whatever we, discuss here this evening.
There's also a stipulation in that FEMA plan that, mobile homes cannot be used for, you can't live in it. They can't be temporary or permanent. They have to be used for recreation only.
Yeah, these are not.
So are these people that are coming here, my question is, are they here for recreation? Is their occupation recreation? Is building the pipeline recreation? I don't know how that fits in with that guideline.
We've already went past that part. But
Well, I don't know how you can ignore a FEMA regulation.
we aren't ignoring the FEMA regulation.
Do you have a copy of the FEMA guidelines for RVs in flood zones?
Brian, do you have an available copy of RVs and flood zones?
I don't have a copy, but I reviewed the guidelines significantly. There are a lot of things that could be a cost for the community. One being, for example, FEMA has a 180-day restriction that you have to have a permit by the state and or federal government beyond 180 days. They do that purposely because they don't want trailers here for long-term in a flood zone. But that's just part of it. I suggest that the town look at that specifically with RVs. There's a section, if you go to the FEMA site, it's directly about RVs. And the restriction for the longer would be the same as a mobile home. Put it on a foundation, make it permanent, and they could stay beyond the 180 days.
We do not want to do anything that jeopardizes the floodplain.
So I was saying that their main goal is to not have long-term recreational vehicles in floodplain. Now, outside of floodplain, that's a whole different.
Which was the notion of the original ordinance, so that we didn't end up in that situation. That's right.
Because Randy Sharks is a totally different area, covered by different rules.
I know it's going to be hard to keep these types separated, and that's what I see happening now, that we're confusing parts of one type with parts of another type.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Norris.
Okay, obviously we are not privy to the current wording from the floodplain ordinance that would revolve around RV trailers. But if it does not mention the preclusion of RV trailers, then they're gonna have to probably under floodplain ordinance be secured as any mobile home with anchors.
It would not surprise me. It would not surprise me, but Brian is shaking his head here. That's not the case.
No, and I don't think you want that either. I mean, I don't think you want that.
If I was wanting mine out of floodplain, I wouldn't want it anchored down.
Well, We talked about that.
I'm on up on mine, go.
Let's
You have that thing in front of you.
Oh, yeah, about the ordinance, it sounds to me like the town has not read the floodplain ordinance.
And we should have the floodplain coordinator for the town.
Yeah, the floodplain ordinance is what this is all about.
We've already said we're not going to do anything beyond the floodplain ordinance.
But I'm hearing that you've already made a motion to
To consider these various types, that's
consider
correct.
them. Have you, I'm understanding it that you've already said you're gonna.
Well, you're understanding wrong.
Okay, that's what I wanna clarify. So in other words, you're gonna discuss and it's conceivable
There
that
is-
after you
there
have
is
discussion
several
that you
rules
can
and
change your mind
regulations
and not act upon it.
Beyond where we're at this evening. That's why I'm saying, and I know we're talking about three different animals here, and I don't know how to stay the course with it. Let's talk with regard specifically to what I see as campgrounds after this period of construction goes away. All right? Let's stop there just a moment.
You need to back up, Mr. Mayor, because Scott made a motion. He combined the last two areas, and there's not been a second that I've heard. There was a second.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Did you second?
And it says right in this agreement that I said that we would follow, that they must follow the town ordinances and the floodplain ordinance. So it addresses that right in there.
Have an emergency plan between the property owner and the tenant, whoever that is.
I think if you read the ordinance, I mean, I have, Nelson, he was, okay, it's just that, it's gonna be pretty plain that you can't do most of those things in, I mean, they're in the town of Marlton, the lots, empty lots, dilapidated lots, whatever, if they're in the floodplain, it's gonna say that you can't have recreational vehicles being used for anything other than recreation. They can't be used. They can't be being used for temporary housing in a floodplain. I mean, I don't have a copy of it, but I've read it, and I apologize. I just assumed that you would have a copy. So that's the only reason I'm belaboring this point. You can go ahead and proceed. I just want you to know that you won't come up against a big block when you read the floodplain ordinance.
Now that you follow Scott's motion, that it be subject to numbers,
I'm just
subject to
the wording says you
requirements of
can't
the
be using it
floodplain
as
ordinance.
temporary housing, so that's, I'm just letting you know that up front. Campgrounds, if you wanna address number one, campgrounds for recreational vehicles.
Well, Ms. Martin's already told me now I've worded it in such a way I can't do that.
No, I didn't say that. What I said was, if you follow Scott's motion that was seconded by Don, he adopts in that those provisions 1 through 8 and number 6B and number 8B, that any person comply with all the ordinances of the town, including the floodplain ordinance. So you make it subject to, you put the burden on the person asking for the variance to be in compliance with floodplain ordinance.
All right.
You're simply, your motion, and the issue is to whether you're gonna allow them. Like you said, you have one, Randy Sharps is not in the floodplain, I believe. Pretty sure it's not.
I think you're right.
Okay, so Randy Sharp would be in compliance with
Already.
the floodplain. All right, Brian is in the floodplain. Therefore, there are gonna be additional requirements on Brian when he comes to council for his variance. And before he can proceed with it, he's got to meet the requirements set out in the floodplain ordinance.
And by the way, Mr. Tattersley, since you are here, you have identified the difference on your property between the floodplain and the floodway.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, floodway is not really
Okay.
a good spot.
Well, it's totally illegal. not just that it's not a good spot, it's illegal.
Right, BJ's right, if it's in floodplain, you cannot build.
Right.
Exactly.
Does anybody, present have a current copy of the floodplain ordinance under which we are currently operating?
Well,
We were supposed to have approved one, we have not done so.
downstairs or in the office, in the building, we do have it.
Nobody has one there present.
We don't have any present, no, we don't.
We don't need to discuss it.
Yeah, I was going to
It's
say,
the individual's responsibility to
that's
meet the
another
floodplain ordinance.
layer of
We're just
requirement.
supposed to approve it.
Exactly.
We're not really talking addressing that, that's already been addressed, really, is the situation. The floodplain ordinance and requirements are what they are. We cannot add to or take away from them.
Not much you can do about it.
Right.
No, and that would be up to the people that are requesting the variance.
And the fact of the matter is, we may go through this exercise and there will be no way that some of these sites will be, able to be occupied.
Exactly.
But somebody else makes that determination.
That's a real possibility.
Is that the biggest issue with regard to the campgrounds? We're going to be talking about, square footage of site. What's required so far is the square footage. It appears, what the town has in mind is more than the state requirement. The town has in mind 1,750, square feet. I think a state regulation says about 1,660 or thereabouts. Some of, the pipeline, folks have asked for 2,100 square feet, but that's,
Who established that, I'm sorry?
well, that's not our call.
Yeah, well, I didn't think that was either.
No,
I don't-
it's
I don't
not.
understand why.
I'm just saying that it is out there.
Company is setting down, a size limit.
They have bigger units, probably, and bigger vehicles pulling them, but that's a whole separate issue.
Separate issue.
Mayor, I believe DNR sets forth SSA 1,750 square feet with 10-foot setbacks from roads and not building structure.
And then you say 1,200 square feet for campsite?
For a campsite is 1,200 square feet, correct, for a camp.
All right, is there any, with regard to the, variance number one, is there anything else that stands out there that needs discussed?
Other than considering variances for such, which comes under.
Item number 4 is what we have
We're
got.
setting up.
So are we, if what we're assuming here that we'll do is that once we move through these and pass these motions, that then council will work with lawyer, floodplain manager, everything to set the regulations that these variances are gonna be subject to?
I gave you the suggestions. I wrote out what has been raised.
Well, I understand,
Well, the variances would be, be the size of the lot and that kind of stuff. The floodplain would be up to the individual that's getting the variance. Yeah.
Then I would like to talk about number 8 for just a minute. Because I'm concerned about the time that, and burden on the town to move these people's trailers for them in the event of a 60-minute call.
We're not going to do that.
So we're not doing that?
No.
Because there was mention of that in the last meeting of,
Well, but we never agreed
Based
to
on
that.
the paperwork, there are problems revolving around that particular statement
right.
more than you want to shake a stick at.
That's why I was bringing it up to make
We
sure
cannot
that,
be held liable because we moved one trailer and not the other. Because we didn't have time or personnel.
And you're not gonna move mine. It's sitting in my yard